Hello and welcome to Breakfast Central on a Monday morning. Thank you so much for staying tuned and joining us and making time to be here with us as we bring to you the latest stories from the world of news and current affairs. Hope you had a fantastic weekend, by the way. Well, in case you didn't, don't worry. We'll start off your week on a very good note. Benga Borowa joins me this morning and he's here. Good morning, Benga.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning to you wherever you're watching across the world. If it's from Fremantle or Freetown or Fresno, you're welcome to Nigeria's #1 breakfast show, and we're happy to be here to start a brand new week with you. It was drama. I mean, our mouths will be full this morning. So many things to talk about. And this morning, a certain Mr. Osifo decided to go toe-to-toe against the president, the ruling party. We'll tell you how that went. There's so many other things happening in Nigeria. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. I'd like to hand you over to the delectable Olive Emodi, the shining star, shine bright like diamond, like Rihanna.
Thank you very much, Benga. Thank you to our incredible audience for always choosing to start your day with us. And it's Monday morning. Thankfully, not a rainy Monday morning. Friday was intense with heavy floods pouring over the course of the weekend. Was really intense. While the UK is experiencing a heat wave, we're experiencing a flood wave here in Lagos, Nigeria. We're hoping that things don't get so intense because it does seem like we may not be prepared for what's coming with the flooding around the Lekki axis, and Lekki definitely has become the butt of the joke once again. Once again, you're welcome to Breakfast Central. I'm Olive Emodi. You're about to say something about the floods.
Yes, must you bring London into this?
You know, it's my first Monday back since London, and a lot has happened. This time last week, you know. I wanted to surprise you both. I remember trying to join from the UK to surprise you, but you should wait, let me go on another holiday. This London one, I will not frustrate you too much. Once I go on another one and come back.
You know, I wish our viewers could see what happens behind the scenes. Because right now, we have a camera operator. The best he has been to is Osaka, London, and he was just admiring all of that. This is life.
Well,
yeah. Are you okay? Don't let me ring this bell.
Ring it for our audience to welcome them this morning.
By the way, welcome.
Well, celebration is in order in the camp of the APC. Absolutely. The bells are rung in celebration of the very overwhelming, outstanding victory of Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who over the course of the weekend emerged as the APC's presidential candidate for the 2027 election, securing a whopping 10,999,162 votes against his rival, Stanley Osifo.
10 million.
10 million, sorry, I beg your pardon. 10,999,162 votes against his rival, Stanley Osifo, who polled 16,503 votes. The primaries... This is really minuscule. A squeeze. The primaries, which took place across all 36 states, the FCT, and over 8,000 wards, were described as fair and transparent by chairman of the APC's Presidential Election Committee, Senator Pius Anyim, who announced the final collation of results at the International Conference Center in Abuja. National chairman of the APC, Professor Nentawe Iwata, congratulated the president on his victory and also handed over the certificate of return to the president as the flag bearer of Nigeria's ruling party, the APC, in the forthcoming 2027 elections. It was very bold of the young man who, of the gentleman who ran against the president. When Terigi said, you can only run past Terigi until you run mad. So anyway, I say Baba is saying good and you sabi. Let's take a look at these videos. These are the videos. This is the moment where the president got his official certificate of return. Congratulations to His Excellency Bola Ahmed, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu on returning to
Jagaban Bogu.
Let's watch these videos. Yeah.
This certificate of return. Your Excellency, congratulations.
Two candidates. One is my candidate, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The other man there I don't know him. Only in Wakakom. So please, those who came to monitor this election, over to you. You can come. Don't need to really speak on it. Just like
I know. Somebody can. All right, the counting is starting now. Number 1 here. Number 2. 3, 4, 5, 6. Speak up, please. 90. 92. 95. 6. On the real contest.
Let me go. Sorry.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or the Sire anti-commission.
Demonstration of internal democracy, and it has been going very well according to plan. This is politics, grassroots politics, where every member of the party has a right to participate and be involved. This to ensure that we have an internal democracy and it's peaceful and well organized.
Your Excellency, you gave the state governors the permission.
You can see the massive turnout in the wards we visited. It's organic. The support for President Tinubu is organic. The support for the party is the entire community is coming out to say there is an affirmation of the general election that we'll have. The thousands you are seeing here, the supporters of that's the members of APC, not the community. On the day of election, when the community will all come out, you will see the massive. And this number is massive already.
This is the grace of God. And we must also thank Mr. President for giving freedom to everybody. He said, if you want to join, follow the chairman. If he's doing well, join us. If he's not doing well, don't join us. So today, we came here, you saw the crowd. In less than a few minutes, we can't wait. Even if we start counting now till daybreak, I'm sure some people are rushing from their farms to come back and queue for Mr. President.
Mr. President, for the purpose of this election, 11,069,756 voters were accredited. Mr. President, after accreditation, 11,015,665 voters casted their votes. And after we completed the votes, I am delighted to announce on behalf of the committee that the aspirants received votes as follows. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR received a total number of 10,999,162 votes. Mr. Stanley Osifo received a total of 16,503 votes. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore my duty as the returning officer for this primary election to declare President Bola Ahmed Tinubu having satisfied the requirements of APC constitution and guidelines and scored the highest number of votes, is hereby declared the winner of the primary election.
And that's Senator Ayim Pius Ayim rolling out the congratulatory message right there for the president.
And on your screen right now is Mr. Osifo.
Osifo,
yes,
businessman,
yes,
who decided to go against the #1 citizen, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You can see jubilations, celebrations in the air, but people are asking, where did he come from? So many questions to ask, especially to answer, I beg your pardon, at the just concluded APC primaries. First off would be the number that the president did win, come out victorious with, about 10.9 million votes. Many would say, whereas if you go to the 2023 elections, the president was able to get 8.794 million votes. That was in 2023 presidential elections. And how come the president now got almost 11 million in the APC primary? So are we saying that the people in the APC,
without the logistics of Nigerians, without the logistical power of INEC,
let me play the devil's advocate.
National Union, what's
Union of Road Transport Workers,
of course, and all of that.
Let me play devil's advocate. At the time when the president won his elections, the APC did not have as much coverage as it now has. The APC now...
And they had not even seen the good works of Mr. President.
Exactly. Now the APC is in how many states, right? We've seen the dominance that the APC has had.
We've seen
governors, 31 out of 36 governors. That was not the reality as of 2023. So there's been a clear difference. Whether we like it or not, the APC has more numbers now than it did going into the 2023 elections. Again... so that's the one hand. But if we talk about this election and these primaries, it feels more like political choreography, a little more performative. I
like that word.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like this Osifo man. Where did he come out from?
School,
yeah.
when we used to...
Kingdom dance.
With white gloves.
It feels
and
more...
white canvas.
Okay, all of used to do that. He lives in me.
How I did it. I was one of them.
He lives in me.
Bigger, let's focus.
Guys,
in the house.
Let's be serious this morning. If Olive had a cup in front of her, I would have said maybe she had Bacchus tonic wine this morning.
No. Okay, guys.
Okay,
guys,
focus.
Let's focus. So the question is, again, I did say that it felt more like political choreography, what had happened. But then, the APC had to do that, because if they didn't do that, they would be largely criticized by Nigerians and saying that, oh, you just already chose a consensus candidate, you people did not make it free fair. That was an action that let Nigerians know that, it was a democratic process in the sense of it. But that being said, this form is not cheap.
100 million.
100 million, how did the Stanley Osifo man come out?
It's a businessman.
Knowing that, you're paying this 100 million naira. Did he genuinely believe in any shape,
Olive,
way, shape, or form?
100 million is big for you, doesn't mean it's...
I know, but did he genuinely believe that he would stand a chance to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu within the party? That's one. It may be for his own political profile. I don't know what is happening.
He's younger,
right? Maybe so that this is first take. Secondly, while the APC boasts of a smooth, free, fair, and credible process at the federal level, on the other hand, at the state level, is a completely different kettle of fish.
There's
the Adelabu that is there, crying and saying that he wasn't given fair chance. The same thing is happening in Edo State. The same thing is happening in Bauchi.
The election moved him to Band Z.
Yeah, so we're seeing that at the state level, the experience that the gubernatorial candidates or the gubernatorial aspirants are having is a different reality from what's happening at the federal level. But congratulations to Mr. President.
Well, Olive, so many things to unpack this morning with regards to the APC presidential primaries. First and foremost, 3 ministers that did resign, and 2 former Inspector General of Police could not secure tickets. So some are looking at it as a gamble gone wrong, because there might not even be any cabinet reshuffle in the offing. But they thought they had the chance. But the good news is they can defect. But will they defect? That's number one. Number two is, like Olive said, exercising choreography. Was this really necessary? Looking at the mood in the country and waste of time and resources and getting people out to stand in the sun when, as we've known since 1999, any incumbent gets an automatic right of passage.
Unless you are the former governor of Bauchi State.
No. I mean
incumbent presidency.
at the presidency.
The only exception is President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. The power of incumbency did not work in his favor.
No, but the primaries.
Okay, primaries.
Yes,
okay.
for primaries. So this is not necessary.
Yeah, sorry, you're
Looking
right.
at the atmosphere in the country, and when I say atmosphere in the country, as we're speaking this morning, I mean, it's always at the back of my head that there are students in the bush, lots of students in the bush. They haven't been recovered. We don't know the outcome of the rescue mission so far. I can imagine what their parents are going through every night, every day, knowing that their loved ones are in the bush somewhere. And then, people are laughing, the pressmen taking pictures, just politicking, and we forget these people that we seem to have left behind. It's quite sad. So they should have just done what other presidents have been doing and not waste our time. But it's good, like Mr. President said, it's a test for grassroots politics and internal democracy. But beyond that presidential level,
what test?
Even within the party, at state legislation, the complaints all through. Some people feel cheated. But I guess this will unravel in the next couple of days. We'll see. So already, we've seen some movements. I saw a gentleman that was vying for the AMAC Federal Constituency seat in Abuja, House of Reps. And he was an APC member just 2 weeks ago. He's now in NDC. So the movement has started.
It's a tough one, Binga and Olive. But let's see what Nigerians are saying, because from what Nigerians are saying, it will give us an idea regarding how Nigerians felt about the APC primaries as well. So on YouTube as well, we do have some comments.
Right.
But also on X, we'll try as much as possible.
So maybe we should take from YouTube, go to X,
we can start from YouTube.
and then come back to YouTube. Mokuye Chukwuemeka says, Oliver and the gang, those who came to monitor the election, you can manufacture numbers, should be the words from Benjamin Kalu. It's politics, Tinubu said, playing with the lives of people. Those kids kidnapped for days have been under the rain and sun, yet the man is playing politics. Over 11 million were manufactured, shameful, and as usual, the people clapped at their stupidity. The Osifo had 100 million naira to waste. These people take us for fools. That's the comment by Mokunye Chukwuemeka.
He's a businessman.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Johnson. Joshua Okparanze says, so the election that brought him to power, that all Nigerians voted, he allegedly scored over 8 million votes. And now, magically, he's scoring over 10 million votes in primary election of just APC.
No, it's called primary election, so maybe primary school children were allowed.
You are too dry.
But it's just
this is not Hamatan. Calm down. Don't be dry in rainy season. Joshua Okparanze says they're already cooking up figures to rig the 2027 elections, so they will use the primary election figures to justify their rigging. He also says 2027 election will either make or mar this contraption called Nigeria finally. Because if we let this lawlessness and fraud to stand, then we are doomed. Nathan Emmanuel says APC is already formulating figures for winning the election under the supervision of INEC, and the opposition is just there not questioning the figures, waiting till the general election. Please, lady in the house, APC doesn't have more numbers now, rather more governors and National Assembly members. It doesn't show more Nigerians are with them now.
He didn't get your sarcasm.
Well, he didn't get my sarcasm, no. Anthony Ogbe says, as usual, the people clap for their stupidity. Media Judge says, APC is just dramatic. They are acting for Nigerians who will go against Tinubu's. He said who will go against Tinubu's second term before. Then Jason says, arranged opponent for Tinubu, and you people believe it. Finally, Osa says, the APC primaries have made my work as a home teacher in vain. Ooh. And okay, there's one more. Eddie Emmanuel says, was the election done with beavers? We'll come back to YouTube. What? Keep the comments coming. Let's head to X and see what Nigerians are saying about this.
Just to add to the... Okay, anyway.
No, go ahead.
Let's go to X first. Retired says, will they vote in the general elections? As Raju leads, we follow. AA says, 10.9 million to 16K. Who they deceive who? I believe this now mass movement. PBAR to 2031. He says, I didn't vote. Please add me in 2027. 10.99163, he says, instead of 162. You can add yourself too, he says. What is this exactly? You mean you organized an event to announce presidential primary results and BAT got over 10 million votes so that you start now to lay the foundation? If only APC members can give BAT 10 million votes, imagine what figure we'll see in 2027. So says Paulson. Paulson is not in agreement with what happened over the weekend. He joins a list of Nigerians, or a number of Nigerians, who also feel that way. However, some are indeed celebrating the win. But my question would be just one. During the event, okay, the president did make a statement to the man who decided to run against him.
Mr. Pius
about Mr. Pius Osifo, and he talked about something about money. And that had generated a lot of conversations, And everybody said, I mean, why that statement was made and what did it mean if you say, okay, you've earned your money? People said, what money?
I don't know if I really heard that one, though.
Yeah. I mean, if our producer has a video, let's
play it, actually.
Let's take a listen, because that's the highlight of the event as well.
The second presidential aspirant. Well, congratulations for being a good sportsman. At least you earn your money.
Question.
What does
it mean what does it mean when the president says you have earned your money? Answer 5 marks. We're streaming live on YouTube, News Central TV Live. Head there now, drop your comment and interpret what
you
that
have multiple
means.
choice
No objective. Go there, it's a theoretical question.
Maybe you should ask
what does it mean by
at
least you have earned your money?
You've earned your money. I mean, for the optics, what does that mean? It doesn't really look good. But we'll leave it at that.
No, we don't know what it means. Let our audience be the judge. We'll leave it at that. Head on YouTube and tell us.
Let's move to our next story very quickly. Let's tell you that 2 former ministers, just as Benga had highlighted, while the president was celebrating over the weekend, 2 of his former cabinet ministers who resigned and decided to pursue governorship ambitions ahead of the 2027 elections lost out on the APC tickets, leaving them politically stranded. In short, as we speak now, you may be enjoying power in your house, but the man who came up with Band A, Band B, Band C, all the way to F, well, if it exists, former Minister of Power, talking about Mr. Debayo Adelabu, is currently thinking what to do next because he was defeated by Senator Sharafaddin Ali, who polled 578,143 votes against him, where he was said to poll 19,193. Adelabu rejected the results, alleging that there was a lot of irregularities. Now, while Yusuf Tugar, you know that name too, right? The former Minister of Foreign Affairs also lost. He lost his Bauchi governorship bid to former Governor Mohammed Abubakar, despite his diplomatic profile. Now, while some Nigerians say this is proof that political power doesn't always translate into grassroots support, being a minister doesn't also guarantee popularity at the state level, by the way. But, like we said, what are the reactions? The former Minister of Power said that there were irregularities, the voting, the numbers didn't show the truth, that's the number of persons who voted. Where did they get 500,000 from, he said. And then there were also concerns about the former minister who also had alleged that he was a rightful winner. But what does this portend for 2 former ministers who have abandoned office midway, not sticking it out up until the second tenure, if there will be a second tenure for the president and for them, and decided to go fully becoming ministers?
So I think the one lesson that we can learn is that...
There's one more person.
There's one more.
Missed out on. Saidu Al-Khali, the former transportation minister. He also resigned from the Federal Executive Council to pursue his APC governorship ticket in
What's the status?
State, and he suffered a setback because he lost the primary to Jamilu Gwama, who was widely believed to enjoy the support of the incumbent governor, Inuayaya. So 3 former cabinet ministers. But there were also successes too.
Yeah, we have myriads, plenty of them.
Yes,
plenty of successes. However,
so from that resigned. So it was five of them resigned. 3 didn't go through.
Two did go through.
So I think it's then safe to say that ministerial appointment grants proximity to power, but does not necessarily grant you grassroots credibility.
Absolutely.
Because the truth is, what were you doing before you decided to run for office? So, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Power, you are coming.
Yeah.
No, before you decided to run for primaries, what were you doing? You were a minister. You were appointed by the president.
Prior to that,
what were you doing? How much influence do you have at the grassroots? Do they know you in your communities? There is a world level to politics. There's a grassroots level to politics. That
politics is local.
It's local.
The fact that they see you on television does not mean that it would automatically translate to vote.
So I think that's the one lesson everyone was.
And their ministers and their ministers, because the FCT
that's
minister
the second part I wanted to
has a structure and a base.
That's the second part. The second part is okay. Yes, ministerial appointment does not guarantee you that automatic access to whatever gubernatorial ambitions you have. But also, even as a minister, what does your scorecard say? Let's take Adelabu, for example. As a minister, would you judge him fairly and say he had an excellent outing as a minister? If the citizens in his state were to judge him and say, this is a man that is running for office, let's give him our party card. If they were to judge by his outcome as minister, would he get a fair score? Anyway, let's take a look at this video. We still have more thoughts. Keep your thoughts coming on YouTube as well. We'll take comments on YouTube in a moment.
Let's also look at it from another aspect of it before we move on to our last wake-up conversation. The question now is, where would they go to?
That's a very valid question.
Then would some of them, would they even want to move? Because it would look like a sort of betrayal.
Of course.
You were a minister under the
And there's an update on your state crisis. There's an update, okay? As we speak this morning, from yesterday, I was trying to follow through as well, and we the news we got, even there's a video as well, where they said, even though the results have been released for your state primaries, the real results will be announced in Abuja either today or tomorrow.
So there's fear of maybe abracadabra.
So from the camp of Sharafuddin Ali, they are saying, what do you mean by, we have done, look at it here, there's no going back. So all eyes are gazed and fixed on Oyo State governorship primaries because the results are out. So the statement of, it doesn't matter, but let's wait, the real result will be announced in Abuja. That's what a lot of Nigerians are waiting for.
And to talk about the Bauchi angle, because we talked about Minister of Foreign Affairs losing to someone who already had structure. Imagine, because he lost to the former governor of Bauchi State, somebody who has served one tenure, lost in 2019 to Bola Ahmed, and now is running back for office, right? You look at Minister of Foreign Affairs, the caliber of work he had done was very ministerial, it was very foreign, international. It was not local. So that's something that a lot of politicians will need to take into account when deciding to run for office. Comment on YouTube says, Media Judge says, Adelabu thinks he's popular enough to win your ticket. He won't believe his eyes. Victor Eddy says, earning your money means he played the game well and he has to be rewarded back. Melvin Orion says, shameful and disgraceful statement. It's a pity what Nigeria has become under APC. Now, RNG primaries and the guy has cashed out big time. Well, we don't know that for sure. Nathan Emmanuel says, Osifo came to channels yesterday trying to explain what that statement meant, but he ended up not making any point at all. He made another allegation that I cannot read because we do not have any concrete fact to substantiate it and must be careful. Tim Wambiko says, earn your money means, no, you're wrong.
There's actually an update. There's a breaking news this morning as we speak. The breaking news has it that after the president had received the certificate of return, there is a body. They're known as the Incorporated Trustees Association of Legislative Drafting and Advocacy Practitioners. That's quite a mouthful. They're known as ALDRAP. They're a professional association of lawyers whose primary duty is to act as watchdog to ensure that both public officials and institutions comply with the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, and other legislation. Now, what they're doing is they're actually writing to request for disqualification of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's presidential candidate of the APC on the grounds of primary election that produced him was in violation, they say, of Section 84, 86, and 88 of the Electoral Act 2026. And they went on to say, for example, the APC had announced that President Bola Tinubu polled 9,999,000 votes during the said primary election that held on Saturday. However, they also mentioned that the APC, on its general e-registration, they said there are only 7 million. Okay? So how is it that they're able to poll that number? That's a different one. Then they went ahead to give both Nigerians and all of us in the studio here work this morning to actually bring out the Constitution and then go vis-a-vis. What we'll do here on Breakfast Central is we'll try as much as possible to lay our hands to some of the reps of ALDRAP and find out why they decided to say if they do not in any way disqualify that primaries that brought the president victory yesterday, over the weekend, that they are ready to go to court. That's what they've said. They said, take notice that in event that we do not receive your formal response within 7 days, we shall commence a lawsuit to press home our demand.
Okay.
Interesting development.
Very interesting development.
Right?
All right, we do have one more story, and
we don't want to see what Nigerians are saying.
Sorry, let's see what Nigerians are saying
about
before
Oyo State.
Absolutely, let's take that.
Interesting times. Prince, Eurolove 2. Wow, Eurolove. Okay. It says, they forget saying our governors, they are annoyed for state matter. Niger, not a democracy. Well, this one says, risking is better than regretting. Timo Shalala says, LOL, all the ministers that resign will never win any primaries, meaning you don't appreciate what a whole president gave you. So you cherish your own ambition more than the president's appointment? Can't you see, Wike? Once he finished with the president job, then he will now continue his ambition, and the president will support him 100% irrespective of his party then. For you to quit the appointment for another post, meaning you are an ingrate, he says.
Abba.
Wow.
That's a bit harsh.
That's a harsh word, by the way. Serg's boy says, na plan work. I don't understand. And apparently all the ministers that resigned the appointments to participate in the primaries lost. Good for them. And it caused them...
Not all of them. Not all
of them. Like we mentioned, out of 5, only 3. But the thing is, the 3 are very prominent. They're the ones that Nigerians were looking up to, especially the former Minister of Power. You know, the former Minister of Power's story...
Even started way before election season.
Even before election season. And he came out to debunk. He debunked it clearly that that's where he now promised Nigerians that they would attain and focus to restoring power in 2 weeks. He even promised Nigerians that in 2 weeks, power would return to normalcy. We waited for 2 weeks, there was no power. And then the president gave a deadline and said, if you must move, I give you till March 30th. If you don't leave by then don't bother leaving. But the former Minister of Power defied that rule. He left in April. He declared in April that he was going to leave. And there was a letter that came in circulation. They debunked that letter, that letter is not true. But eventually the letter was true. And he left. So first of all, you told Nigerians, listen, you're going to focus and fix the power issues. Secondly, you defied the presidential directive that anyone who wants to move and leave his position should do so on or before March 30th. Thirdly, you now said, no, you're not leaving. You told Nigerians you're going to fix the power issues. And all of a sudden, what we saw, you were walking into Oyo State and people were dancing, chanting. You were standing outside of your
directing
car
traffic.
And you were directing traffic. Okay, maybe, let me know.
The moral of this is, he couldn't give Nigerians power. And now he
wants
get power.
So
all power belongs to God.
Indeed.
But I guess that wraps up Wake Up Conversations. This morning, let's bring you headlines of what we will be looking at on Breakfast Central this beautiful Monday morning. President Tinubu emerges as APC presidential candidate, receives certificate of return. Food security alarm. 35 million Nigerians risk acute hunger in coming months, says the United Nations. The United States announces new green card application rule. We'll also be looking at the APC primaries as opposition moves to challenge Wike's coalition in Rivers State. And we'll bring you the newspaper front pages where you can call in and share your thoughts with us on any of the big stories. Breakfast Central will continue shortly. Please stay with us. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. The United Nations has raised fresh concerns over worsening food insecurity in Nigeria, warning that 35 million Nigerians could face acute hunger between June and August as the lean season approaches. According to the United Nations humanitarian country team, nearly 1 in 7 Nigerians may struggle to access adequate food in the coming months, with northern Nigeria expected to be hardest hit due to insecurity, displacement, rising food prices, and worsening economic hardship. The UN also warned that millions of vulnerable households may be forced to skip meals, sell assets, and withdraw children from school if urgent intervention is not provided.
The warning comes amid rising inflation attacks on farming communities and growing concerns over Nigeria's shrinking humanitarian support capacity. Aid agencies say only about 40% of the $516 million required for Nigeria's 2026 humanitarian response plan has been funded, raising fears over the country's ability to respond effectively before the peak of the lean season.
Well, joining us to examine the implications of the United Nations warning and possible solutions, our humanitarian affairs expert, Emmanuel Osemeka, joins us this morning, and we have public affairs analyst and founder of Dream Heights Consult, Agaba Wilson. Agaba, thank you so much for being here, gentlemen.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Let me start with you first, Emmanuel. The United Nations says about 35 million Nigerians could face acute hunger in the coming months, which means starting from now when this statement was released. How serious is this warning, and what does it say about Nigeria's current food security situation?
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to be here again. In all honesty, I believe that 35 million Nigerian being put out, as those that may likely face serious food shortage, is a fraction of the reality. If you look at the cadre harmonise is the tool that the United Nations uses to assess food insecurity or food security across any geographic region. And this is done in collaboration with the federal ministries and of course state ministries of agriculture of any given nation, in collaboration, of course, with several other humanitarian agencies, NGOs, and of course those who are working in food security sector. I'm sure you are all aware that we currently have about 140 million Nigerians who are currently below the what the United Nations call multidimensionally poor, and 35 million is currently considered to be at risk. These 35 million are people who we have been identified as those that will suffer within the lean season. And when you talk about the lean season, you're talking about the planting season. The planting season starts from the month of May, June, all the way to the harvest season in August, September. And of course, on a yearly basis, lean seasons are usually the most expensive seasons in every agricultural belt or in every region or country. But with Nigeria, associated with farmers, not having access to their farms, communities being ransacked on a daily basis, you discover that the number 35 million are those that are at the fringes. But if you look deeper, the number is actually much more than 35 million. Because if you go from plateau Benue, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Zamfara, all the way to Yobe, you will discover serious non-farming activities for the better part of 3 years as a result of insurgencies, kidnapping, banditry. In the news on a daily basis, you hear about Plateau State, for example, and the volume and the level of killings that is taking place there. That of Benue State has been, underplayed for political expediencies. But the reality is that Nigeria is in serious problem. And within these 35 million, there is about 4.8 million women and children that are going to suffer serious malnutrition if nothing happens. Of course, the UN is shouting because their funding is currently short. The amount of monies they are expecting to be able to support the vulnerable people and, of course, victims of hostilities across the country, most especially within the northeast region of Benue, of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, has fallen short. As at this month of May, the WFP is yet to hit more than 35% of their funding for the emergency food assistance. And WFP is a World Food Program that supports household activities when, especially during the emergency operations. So the reality is that the numbers are more than what has been put out, but within what the UN catchment area, they have been able to put out a 35 million Nigerians that may likely, have acute food shortage, or simply put, that will surely go hungry between now and August. Thank you.
Wow. I mean, that's really very detailed and scary. You say that this doesn't accurately capture what the current reality is. I'll bring in our other guests now into the conversation and ask, from your perspective, how prepared is Nigeria for this? I mean, yes, insecurity is still a thriving problem. There's a conversation about inflation, different policies and the impact that these have had, policies like subsidy removal, and how these have contributed to worsening food access across the country. But is there a projection that shows that Nigeria is actually adequately prepared to be able to weather this incoming storm?
I think, let me start on a lighter note by saying we are prepared. What is the preparation of the federal government? Go and import food, which for me is the worst preparation anyone can have in this time and day, where supply chains are being disrupted across the globe, thereby, visiting severe impacts on other countries. We are like a global village as it is now. Whatever happens in any corner of the world will affect almost many other parts of the world. So we need to begin to think like every other nation is thinking now. How can we insulate ourselves to the impact of global events in certain critical areas? The late President Buhari administration, for me, was a more proactive government when it comes to the area of agriculture. Why? Because they have identified some areas in which we needed to prioritize investment. And not only that, they went down to the specifics. For instance, rice was picked. And they said, look, we want to produce rice enough to meet the demand in Nigeria. At this point, we don't care at what cost, which I think they achieved temporarily. The next phase was supposed to be, how do we achieve this sustainability at the cheapest amount possible, which would have been investment in areas such as research into more viable seeds, into more reliable inputs such as fertilizers, how we can tackle the land use system and begin to go into real mechanization so that we can tap into the advantage of economy of scales and all of that before the administration have to leave the office. And when this administration came, I thought that they would just pick the policy, look at what was being done wrongly, remove it, pick the ones that have been going on very well, sharpen it, and make it better. We even suggested that, look, with the insecurity issues, the state who produce most of the food that we eat in the country will not be able to go to farm. And we cannot send military to guard every person who goes to his farm. So what should we do? The federal government should go into partnership with states and develop farm clusters. We can start with 6 per geopolitical, that is one state per the 6 geopolitical zones. Then by the next year, we'll move it to the 36 states. And by the following year, we can go to local government levels. This way, we can have special forces that guard this farm. Protection of our food crop will become very easy. And then we can develop our storage and distribution facilities, which will help in times like this. And which will also, when we are able to, push down this war and the conflict is over, it can serve as a backbone for the private sectors that will want to be involved in food production, processing, distribution, and marketing. However, we chose to put money to distribute 5 billion to state governments. To do what with? I don't know. I don't know how the 5 billion ended. Until now, we said we have been giving more money to state governors. And every state you go to in Nigeria, the citizens say they don't see the impact. Where did the money go? So we have never been very intentional about our agricultural policies, about our food sustainability policies. We always leave everything to chance. We always want to start running when the house is already burning, instead of making sure that the house is built with what cannot easily burn. And if it is burning, we have a fire extinguisher and all of that ready to put the fire off immediately. Now, it will surprise you that this will not even be a talk among our government officials at the moment. They may start moving and start talking about, okay, what do we do? Only after you in the media continue to press home this warning for a long time. So I don't see, and when I say I don't see, I am someone who have interest in agriculture. I'm from Benue, of course. So, and you know that by nature, we are vested in agriculture. I farmed to go to school and all of that. So I'm always looking out for agricultural policies that can favor my people and, of course, create job opportunities and all of that. I have not seen a well thought out, comprehensive agricultural policy with the goals of food sustainability, with the goal of creating jobs, with the goal of even helping to mitigate the issue of rising social vices in the country. We continue to talk about the insecurity issues. One of the things that is fueling it is because there is availability of food soldiers. And of course, talking about this hunger issue that we are mentioning now is going to make it worse. Imagine somebody who does not have food to eat, and the bandit or terrorist comes and say, I will give you food every day. They'll just be willing soldiers in their hands. So I think that at the moment, we do not have any comprehensive policy to respond to this. But is it too late? It is better late than never. This is the time for the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and other relevant ministries, to work with the state government. Good enough, the president and at least 32 governors in the country are in the same party. So I think it should be something that they can do within a day or two. Call a meeting, and then, of course, if the opposition governors will not cooperate, at least the APC governors will be willing to work with the president. And then we can begin to see what we can do at the moment. Maybe we want to do cash transfer, or maybe we want to double down on the policy of the government by importing more food. Maybe we want to start preparing against next year also. As we go into next year, is there something we can do quickly to forestall against repetition or making the issue worse? But I must warn, what we are facing is not just the food shortage in this lean period. Overall, we are going to have less production in the year because more farmers have deserted their farms. And as this continues, with the insecurity moving down west, it's going to be worse in the coming years, except we do something about it right now.
Thank you very much. I'd like to bring Mr. Osanaka back into the conversation. Now, the United Nations has done the diagnosis. They've warned that many families may be forced to skip meals, sell assets, withdraw children from school. And this could happen in as close a time as August. So now that we've seen this diagnosis and, the doomsday scenario they're painted, what kind of government, a government that seems to be preoccupied with politics and re-election, do in the short term to avoid this from common reality? And going by what you've seen and the antecedents, is there a sense of urgency that they are willing to, deal with these issues before it becomes a disaster?
My brother, Benga, right? I think it's already happening. It's no longer it may likely happen. It's already happening. Households are already, disposing of assets to be able to, feed. Because if the policies of the government may be very laudable, but the implementation strategies are somewhat not well thought out. And, somehow it appears we do not have the right mix of professionals within the government at the moment to be able to, diagnose the implementation stages, with a view to, dialing back or improving or changing the strategy that is not working. Like you rightly said, it appears everything now is centered around politics and politicking. And unfortunately, the governments across board, states, local government, and of course the federal government, are all immersed in the politics of the 2027. And so if you see also in the last couple of months, for want of better evidence, from February this year up till today and going forward all the way, what you are going to see is more politics and nothing more. And whenever you have the political season, of course, a lot of such activities, suffer. Government activities, predominantly, take a back seat. But the reality is that if you go across different states of Nigeria, different communities, they go to the very vulnerable people. They're already beginning to dispose of their assets. A lot of their children are also even not going to school anymore because they cannot afford it, given the increase in the cost of living. If you take a cursory look at the misery index in the country, is currently on the upward trajectory. There are very few disposable incomes. Even the little that is available is not able to afford, reasonable commodities for the family because cost of living is really on the increase as a result of not just the increase in the fuel pump price of petroleum because of the subsidy removal, but also the issue of the Iran-US Middle East hostilities. How that is affecting Nigeria so badly is what we are still trying to understand, given that we produce crude and we refine it in Nigeria now, yet it is very, very expensive. It's important that the government is able to take a look at their policies on a regular basis, host roundtable lessons learned part-time to be able to get direct input or real facts from the field so that, because there's no policy implementation that is cast on rock. We must be quite dynamic in our approach and even in our implementation, because the law is made by man for man. It's not, the law is not static. You can't say, oh, we're not able to dial back a bit and maybe change direction, because if you're traveling on the road and there is traffic, there's a heavy gridlock and you have alternative, maybe that alternative will take you to your destination, but probably you spend more money on gasoline or fuel or whatever. You would rather take that route than stay static. It looks like Nigeria is currently static, even amidst the unending hostilities in our villages, communities, and all that. So life is more difficult now in the rural areas than even the urban areas. I think the urban areas are doing fairly better than a lot of the folks in the rural communities, because living in the rural communities with the vulnerable people exposes you to the realities and the vagaries of the absence of government. The local government system is just there for decoration, because they're not really helping out in any form, shape, or whatever. And when you look at their volume of monies that the local government is receiving, besides the internally generated revenue, you'll be shocked that the rural communities are also paying quite a number of tax to the local government communities. So the reality is that our government is not lacking in policies, excellent policies, good policies, be it in agriculture or in any sphere. The issue basically is implementation. And until we're able to get our implementations right, and we're able to also, have step-by-step approach to, our implementation, then it's at best an academic exercise.
Okay, let me go to Ms. Agba as we are looking to wrap this conversation up. What we have now, taking a listen to both of your comments, is that we are in a critical situation right now. And the metrics in which the United Nations is used to measure this situation is actually fair and true. But let's look at, there's a renewed hope mechanization program the president put out there. Mr. Vano, I can see you're smiling. About over 2,000 tractors, if I'm right, were supposed to be given to farmers. The distribution process was said to have begun. We hope that this will help ease off this UN's statement. Secondly, in 2002, if I recall, we also had paddy rice, the pyramid rice by the former president, the late former president. So all of these efforts are being put by the presidency, by the government. Are we saying it's not yielding fruits? We know that distribution of rice is very popular. Any issue, distribute rice. Is this not going to help in solving the problem? Because the First Lady just distributed tons of rice to different states. Isn't it going to quench this UN's statement?
Okay, let me quickly shave off the issue of the rice pyramid under the Buhari administration, because it's something I was a bit close to. There was the Anchor Borers program that was targeted at rice production. You would remember that even the Lagos state government at some point partnered with KBC to produce rice, something they called lake rice. Now, by the time this administration came into power, those farmers still had some loans to pay, and they went back to farm. But this administration, in trying to please the people to, what I would say in their own word, ameliorate the suffering orchestrated by the removal of subsidy, we opened the door and started importing. From a business perspective, what that does is that you will kill the market for the local farmer. A lot of people say the local farmers jacked up the price, we were producing at home, yet it was costly. And some of us said, look, it is costly because we have not achieved the level of efficiency that they have achieved in Asia. For instance, in Asian countries, you have rice seeds that can yield up to 5 to 8 tons per hectare at the same cost of production, if not less than what you will do in Nigeria. Whereas in Nigeria at the time, the highest producing rice you would find will give you about 3.5 tons per hectare in Nigeria. So by the time you allow the Asian man to bring his rice into Nigeria, no matter how heavily you tax him, he can sell at the cost of production of Nigerian farmer and still make profit. So the Nigerian farmer becomes automatically not competitive. So that means they were going to lose. And then the insecurity escalated, driving most of them out of the farm. And the government didn't do anything or didn't do enough to push back immediately. So that's on that part. Let's quickly move to the issue of the tractor because of time. You cannot build something on nothing. When I heard the news that they were going to buy 2,000 tractors and distribute to farmers, I said to myself, whoever is signing up on this program does not understand how agriculture works and does not understand the challenge of agriculture in Nigeria and has refused to acknowledge the impact of insecurity on agriculture in the current Nigeria. Why? Because a tractor is not a multipurpose tool, and you cannot just go ahead and buy multipurpose tractors and accessory and distribute to farmers. Mechanization works in a cluster of heavy machines and equipment. That is the reason you don't see any farmer, even the political farmers, you don't see them mechanizing because it is costly. The only way you can truly mechanize is by having farm clusters. And if farmers don't have enough land, what can mechanization do for them? We all know about the land tenure system in Nigeria. You are here in Lagos, you have your own piece of land in the village. You probably have not tilled that land in the last 5 years or ever since you came to Lagos. But the day somebody goes to clear that land and say, I want to farm one small thing now, your people from your village will call you and you go to the village and trouble will start. Mechanization is not efficient on small land. To mechanize properly, you have to have large expanse of land. We are talking thousands of hectares of land, which is possible in Nigeria. So if the government truly wanted to do something, they ought to have started with liaising with the state government, who are the custodians of land, at least on the surface, and acquire this land, then sign up farmers. We suggested a detailed model. And in fact, I said I was willing to be part of any team to design this for free. Don't pay me. I just want my country to work. But nobody listened. You give me a tractor. I have less than a quarter hectare of land. What is the tractor going to do for me? How is it going to reduce the cost of production? Okay, you give me a tractor, but I have poor seeds and seedlings. How are they going to yield? Okay, you give me a tractor, and I don't have good fertilizers to use. Or you give me a tractor. I have no knowledge of good agricultural practices. You give me a tractor. I produce and there's no storage system. You give me a tractor. I produce and I don't have a market to sell. Our agric and food problem cannot be solved by throwing money on one segment or one dimension. It needs to be attacked holistically. You need to look at the land issue. You need to look at input. You need to look at storage. You need to look at distribution. You need to look at marketing. You need to look at processing. All of them must work in order for the system to work. So even if you are going to deal with it in phases, you must take a microscopic side part of it consisting of all the components and make it work. Then you scale. You cannot say, let me take one segment Because the moment you bring input, the moment you solve land, and I farm, if storage, distribution, and processes are not there, then what I have farmed, what I have reaped, will go to waste. So it is something that must be looked at holistically. Buying tractor, in my opinion, they just made money. Somebody just supplied those things and made some money. It was never designed to work, I can tell you that. Even the person who got that contract knew it was not going to have any impact. But of course, if you buy it, the government allows you to have 30% gross profit on the purchase. So why not do it? So it was never going to work, and it can never work. Unless we look at agriculture from a holistic point of view, we'll be wasting our time.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Gaba, for explaining that. Mr. Emmanuel, I really wish we had more time, but we'll definitely have to bring you back again to look into this situation. Let's wait also for the response coming from the government. Let's see how they're going to respond to this one and what actions will be taken. Hopefully, they will try some poverty alleviation means, which definitely is one of the best means the government uses.
Is it the best means?
It's one of the, maybe not the best.
Distribution of rice, gentlemen and ladies, is not an economic policy.
Distributing rice, at some point. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you so much, Sagaba, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's tell you what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central. Coming up next on Breakfast Central, U.S. announces new green card application rules. If you're planning to get it, well, you need to know. ADC primaries, opposition moves to challenge Wike's coalition in Rivers, and ADC party faithful call for new leadership. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. The United States has announced that temporary visa holders, whether students, skilled workers, or even long-term residents, must not return to their home countries to apply for permanent residency, commonly known as the green card. For decades, applicants could just adjust their status while living in the United States. But this new rule closes the pathway, except in rare and extraordinary circumstances. This is not just a bureaucratic tweak, it's a fundamental shift with far-reaching consequences.
It could mean interrupted studies, stalled careers, family separations, and economic uncertainty for thousands of Africans, including Nigerians, who have built lives in the U.S. The policy is being justified on grounds of security and legal consistency. But critics argue that it's a deliberate attempt to shrink legal immigration. Joining us to help us unpack the motivation behind this rule is global ripple effects and what it means for Africans abroad is global affairs analyst Joy John. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
USCIS says that this restores the original intent of immigration law. But Joy, is this about law and order, or is this really a move aimed at further shrinking immigration pathways under President Trump's administration?
Yes. Every administration has the right to enforce their immigration law, and that is not the issue here. The debate is really about how that law is being interpreted. Under this law, this Immigration and Nationality Act, adjustment of status has long been a process where people can come in and naturalize through the system. In this case here, the concern is that with the update to this memo, the people who come in legally have built their careers, raised families, and contributed to the society are now being pushed into uncertainty after so many years following the process. So yes, it does feel that it is an effort to reduce access to the green cards and, or I would say, like you said, shrink immigration pathways under this administration.
Okay. What does this also mean for Nigerians? Because for Nigerians, we're in Nigeria. Nigerians are worried that those who were likely to have gotten their green card anytime soon would have to have a rethink. They might need to come back home and start all over again. What does this mean for Nigerians in the diaspora?
Yes, anyone will be concerned. For Nigerians especially, this hits a nerve because many have already experienced travel restrictions and visa uncertainty in recent years. So for those on student visas, temporary work visas, or employment sponsorship pathways, that they could likely face major disruption in their processing because they have to leave. If they're forced to go back to their consulate, the embassies and consulars abroad, it will thwart the process, because one major area of concern is that the U.S. consulates abroad already face long lines, long appointment dates, far stretched appointment dates, administrative backloads, and all of that. So that just creates an emotional and financial pressure. We're not even talking about the high increase of plane tickets now. Not just on immigrants, but also the employers, the universities who have already collected tuition for these students, or families who are working, and families with young children, and it will affect their stability overall. So yes, Nigerians are affected, and then we know out of Nigeria, it's very hard to get an appointment. People have had to take on to other measures to secure appointments, just to get an audience with the immigration officers. So sending them back home and putting them back at the end of the line will disrupt a lot of things for Nigerians here.
Now, Joy, this is not the first time we've seen. I mean, one of the points that President Trump campaigned was stronger immigration rules, and we've also seen the Supreme Court reverse some of its executive orders, and some decisions is taken under this administration. Are you expecting some form of pushback from this, or litigation from the courts?
Absolutely. It's about to be a movie. I do expect legal challenges very quickly. Today is a holiday. It's Memorial Day. Under the U.S. Constitution, the Congress has the power to make this immigration laws. And of course, agencies like the United States Customs and Immigration Control has the authority, I would say, just to implement. The courts ultimately will have to decide whether this policy crosses the line from enforcement to just effectively rewriting the Constitution without, the Congress. And emotionally, I think the judges will also weigh in to understand the human impact here, because these cases involve marriages, young children, careers, and people who have spent years on the U.S. soil trying to do things the legal way. So there will be all sorts of interpretations, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it unfolds in the courts.
So maybe what would be the practical next steps, just to, for those who don't know how this will affect them? And like you said, there will be legal challenges. There's an argument as to the legal interpretation of, how this should be applied. But what would be the immediate steps that Africans need to take to protect themselves?
Yes. Firstly, I would say do not panic. I put out something a few days ago is that immigration policy announcements often create fear before all the details are fully understood and implemented. This announcement came in and shortly before the weekend, and there's a holiday, so we will not really know things until Tuesday onwards. My advice also will be to stay in valid status, avoid unnecessary travel. I know summer is around the corner. If you have a vacation planned in Cuba or in Canada or in Cancun, wherever, stay put. Keep your immigration records organized and speak with an immigration lawyer before making any decision. Because under U.S. immigration law, one small move or one wrong move can affect your case for years. So this is really a time to sit back, recalibrate, and just plan. But now one encouraging development for Nigerians here is that Ambassador Kaede Are has formally resumed in Washington at a very important moment here. And I think his presence could play a meaningful role in helping address concerns affecting Nigerians as this policy unfolds. But I will say, that said, people should also understand that the limits, the embassies have limits. There are limits of what embassies and consulates can do. They could provide guidance or support if you need to return home and process your paperwork and all that. They can help expedite that, but they cannot override USCIS decisions or directly influence anything there. And of course, every case before USCIS is different. The outcomes will ultimately depend on the individual facts that you present, and immigration history is treated on a case-by-case basis. So I cannot run off and say, well, Binta was approved or she was denied based on this and that, I fall into that category. You can't assume that. I will say, have all your documents. If you're working under the table, avoid that. Stay mellow. I mean, it is what it is. But because if you're caught, especially if you've overstayed your visa, there's very little that people can do to help.
And we're aware that there are lots of Africans, maybe Nigerians, who have overstayed their visa. This is usually the trend, like some have said. And this has been attributed to the reason why the reduction in green card issuance is actually emerging now. But can you share with us, is it actually a goal to reduce the number of green cards that are given to non-Americans? Or is it a case of security? Because just over the weekend, we did see the president cancel his trip, the vice president as well, arriving in the motorcade, the speed in which they ran into a meeting. And many have pointed fingers to the fact that this could be a case of security alerts, Iran, hence why the green card issuance and so on. Do you think this could be the case? Security reasons?
Absolutely, absolutely not. When Trump was on the campaign trail, one of the key things he wrote on was curbing immigration and flow. And it's not the case because we've had, for instance, the young man who went to the White House and shot at the White House with the president in there was American, full-blooded American. There have been instances where people from other nationalities, other countries have done such, but then when you talk about security, no nation or no nationality is really tagged to it. Americans also, commit these crimes as well. I think that for those who are in the processing their visas or their green cards, if the administration or how it is allows for vetting, like they have to undergo biometrics, background screening, interviews and all of that. So they have the database on the people who are in. So I don't think that really flies. I mean, it doesn't fly at all. The person who allegedly took out, or the suspected shooter, I'm trying to choose my words here, who took out Charles Kirk was American. The other one who had the incident at the White House dinner was American. So you really can't tell me that Africans or people from the Middle East are the ones who actually perpetrate these crimes here.
Now, Joy, your country, the United States of America, did host the Los Angeles Olympic Games in '86, Atlanta '96. I remember the World Cup in 1994, and it was a spectacle. People from around the world came, they celebrated. But in a few days' time, in a matter of days and weeks, you will be playing host again to the rest of the world. But hoteliers complain about lack of bookings, tickets are expensive and all of that, and there's no general buzz that you will get. I'm not sure if you're a soccer fan, as you call it,
I am.
in America. Great. So you understand what I mean. Would you say that the Trump administration's immigration policies are a contributory factor to this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have seen or read opinions from people who have expressed their, people who have probably attended previous sports events. They're just saying that they will not be in the United States for this because of the uncertainty. Some people have been turned back at the port of entry. Some are concerned about the harassment. We have ICE, who has been randomly picking people off the streets. So there is that uncertainty that America is welcoming. Now, the American populace are very welcoming people. Things have not been this way. But yes, I certainly understand that, and I will say that it is very clear from what we have seen and what we've seen in the last few weeks that this will be very poorly attended. Really, there's not much you can do in New York. The mayor is giving out tickets for $50 for people who will go in, and it's like a raffle where about 1,000 people can apply to get a ticket. But the buzz has been very low. People are concerned if they are picked up based on the way they look. A lot of Hispanics have withdrawn. You know that soccer is very big in places like Mexico and things like that. So a lot of people have even asked for the event to be just moved out of the United States. But of course, the deed is done, and it's done in a few. But it will not be the same.
Okay, point of correction is football, not soccer.
Now we're going to have that conversation, but okay.
With this part.
Well, we can call it soccer. Pardon me, but yes, it's football. It's just been so long, but yes.
It's okay for us to agree to disagree on terms and terminologies. Thank you so much, Joy John, for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Joy.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
All right. Quite an important conversation there we've had regarding the impact of what this will mean, on Nigerians. Because everyone, now the world has become a global village. We all know someone who knows someone that has moved to the US, who's been there for years. Some of them in the course of being there while trying to regularize their documents. They are serving, they've built families, they've gotten married, they have children. So you say to them, and in the case where they've had children, their children become automatic US citizens, and maybe their partners are American citizens as well.
The Trump is even trying to undo that say no to birthright citizenship, so things that have been there for many, many years. So it's a tough time for immigrants in the United States. But we'll continue to observe events as things play out. We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll bring you more stories here on Breakfast Central. Stay with us.
You're welcome back. Now bring some great news. This rainy morning, I think I spoke too soon earlier when I said it's not a rainy morning in Lagos. It's raining cats and dogs. But the silver lining in all this rain is that News Central's Abuja Bureau Chief and Head of Northern Operations, Ahmadine Uyi, has received a Lifetime Service Award from the Nigerian Union of Journalists for his commitment to professionalism and mentoring of young journalists. This was during the NUJ FCT Award and Lecture Ceremony with the theme 2027 Election, Defending Democracy in the Era of Disinformation. Our correspondent Idong Joseph brings this report.
For many in attendance, today was set aside by the Nigerian media as part of the NUJ FCT Press Week. In attendance were several stakeholders and partners across different sectors of the society, all unanimously to promote ethical and professional journalism that builds rather than destroys.
Encourage professionalism and enduring commitment of the Nigerian press to truth and justice is not merely symbolic, but a profound responsibility.
This year's theme, 2027 elections, defending democracy in the era of disinformation, is both timely and profoundly relevant.
After several key speeches and keynote addresses, the NUJ unveiled the second edition of its magazine. And then the key moments arrived. The recognition of several outstanding journalists that have made indelible mark on the profession of journalism in the country.
It's ideal we support members who have contributed immensely to the development of our nation, particularly in the journalism profession, and this set of persons have paid their dues in one way or the other. Many of them have faced a whole lot of harassment and intimidation, attacks online, offline. Still, they are brave, they are courageous, they are frontline workers in the quest for truth.
News Central Abuja Bureau Chief and Head of Northern Operations, Ahmadine Uyi, was also presented with a Lifetime Service to the NUJ Award for his commitment to professionalism and mentoring of young journalists.
Journalism truly is not a 9-to-5 job, it's a 24-hour job, but getting this recognition from people who you practice with shows that they recognize your efforts And also is a call from them that you should do more. You should be You should be an ambassador of this profession. You should be an ambassador of journalism, and also you should be an ambassador of your media organization, which is News Central.
The award for many awardees marks a high point in their career and an opportunity to say thank you for the years of service. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
And from Abuja, right here in our studios in Lagos, we present to you live and direct with us in the studio our very own multi-award-winning journalist, Amadine Uyi. It's great to have you.
Congratulations, Amadine.
Thank you, Benga. Thank you, Joe.
You don't thank me.
I started with you.
Sorry. I just
no,
wanted
ladies first. I started with you.
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, congratulations. Very deserving, very rightful. You've put in the work over the years in, setting the stage and the standard for what journalism should be. How does it feel to have won this award?
Anytime I'm asked this question, I first sigh, because as a person, it feels great. But this is one award that you cannot celebrate in a silo, because journalism is always about teamwork. You are just a part of the wheel that rotates. And when you work in a station like News Central, you have to also take time to look back at your team. Those in programs, people like you who every morning you have to present the issues to Nigerians, members of the news team who have to go out every day in rain, sun. They just have to go out and meet up their obligations to the nation. You have to look back and tell your team also thank you, because in as much as you are the one who is being commended, you are being awarded, it's because the team is doing well. If the team was not doing well, nobody will recognize you, no matter what effort you put in. So anytime I am asked this question, I also take time to look back and also thank my team, because I'm being awarded today, but it's like every member of the News Central team has put in their own little efforts. We've been pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to achieve our objective, which is the best TV station on the continent. So I also say a big thank you to the News Central team.
Thank you very much. Congratulations are in order. Amadine, you've been at this job for decades. I remember 7 years ago, we used to work in the same organization, and we've come full circle to meet again at News Central. I remember the last general elections. You had a challenge with, I believe, security operatives. It's a very tough job, and people, they see us on TV, they think it's all glamour and you're enjoying it. It's really, really hard. So can you share some of the most memorable moments in your long, I know it's a very tough question, in your long career that you would always remember, maybe good or not so pleasant experiences too, and what keeps you going?
First of all, you have to have that drive. I stated earlier in that interview, journalism is not a 9-to-5 job. 2 days ago, we finished a meeting with my MD, Mr. Kintemi, around past 1 a.m. Past 1 a.m. Because he, as the editor-in-chief, sets a vision, and he has to rally everybody to achieve that vision. So it's like a 24 hours job. I remember those days when I just got married, my wife would tell me, he said, don't you even rest? There's nothing I can do.
I hope my wife is watching.
There's nothing I can do, because news does not wait for anybody. There was a time the MD called me around 1:30 a.m. and he said, Amadine, this is what I want you to do, this is what I want you to do, this is what I want you to do. And when you have that kind of instruction that has to start very early in the morning, around 4:30, I just slept and woke up around 4:30. I started scribbling down. Around 5, I sent it to one of my reporters, Joshua Imarayi, As I sent it, I said, this is what I want you to do today. The next thing, he sent me a reply. He said, oh, guy, you know they sleep. And then I now replied, I said, when your MD doesn't sleep, why will I sleep? So the job is a 24-hour job. We are not commended. We are not appreciated for what we do. You talked about a memorable moments. I've been beaten 8 times by security operatives. Different times. Police, army. In fact,
even after identifying yourself,
because when you're on the field, they see you as a problem because you have a camera. They don't want to be watched, so you are always a target. I remember you talked about last elections. I went with my crew to River State, and I was at Abonima. We were videoing. All of a sudden, soldiers just jumped from their vehicles. We had our ID accreditation. It was clear.
I remember that.
They jumped from their vehicles, ran back. Why are you videoing? And I looked at them and said, it is my work to video. That is why I came here. They said, no, don't you know you are not meant to video military officers on duty? And I asked them, I said, are you not part of this election process? My work is to video the election process. So whether you are in the military or you are security, you are part of the process. Give me your phone. I said, I'm not giving you my phone. It's my property. He said, after a little scuffle, one of their bosses came, okay, delete the visual. I said, my brother, I traveled all the way from Abuja. I landed in Port Harcourt. Traveled how many communities? And you want me to delete? I said, this visuals is the property of my station. And he said, I'm going to arrest you. I said, it's better you arrest me. Then my station will know that I was arrested. That was why I did not cover the elections. Fortunately, there was, I think, a colonel in one of the vehicles.
Senior officer.
A very senior officer. So he walked down. And he said, what is happening here? I said, your boys are assaulting me. This is my accreditation. I'm here to cover the elections. They're assaulting me. And he told them, he said, go back to the vehicle. Leave him alone. He's doing his job. And he walked back to his vehicle and they left. So you see, we've had this kind of experiences where I had a boy who was beaten up in Kogi, flogged mercilessly by soldiers because he was videoing. So we've had this kind of issues. I remember a few years ago, I almost lost my life covering, I think it was a PDP convention. Because what was that? What is that police officer's name? He's retired now. After showing him my accreditation, he said, you are not entering. I said, but I'm a press. See my accreditation. I only came out to do a live. He just turned, picked up his tear gas, sprayed it on my face. I just fell on the floor. If I was asthmatic, I would have died. Because for the next how many minutes, I was battling on the floor. For what? Because as a journalist, you want to do your job. So we have this kind of issues that sometimes when you look back on, you ask yourself, why does this happen? But you still have to come out every day. That did not make me go home. I got up, dusted my clothes, waited. The moment he left, other police officers said, okay, I enter. But it was like I was at the brink of death.
Can you imagine that?
So we've had this kind of experience.
Well, I can imagine how helpless that will make you feel. Like you, who is a member of the fourth estate of the realm, you who is supposed to be working hand in hand with the law enforcement agents to ensure that we deliver a respectable, unquestionable democratic process to the Nigerian citizens, being sprayed tear gas in the face there. You know, but in all of this, you haven't stopped. Why? What is it that keeps you going?
You see, journalism is more like, I'll say, is more like a calling. Because I remember those days when early 2014, when every Sunday you hear knockouts in churches, you hear one bomb explosion. There was one thing us among the press we observed. Anytime there's an explosion, you see people running away from that scene, that location. But you as a journalist, you are running there. You get it.
Danger.
There was a day I was just getting home. As I I had not reached, I was just on my street. And somebody just called me that there's an explosion at Nyanya in Abuja. It just happened now. I was just in front on my street. I got home. I just told my wife, there's an explosion in Nyanya. I have to go back. As I dropped my bag, she said, you are going back? Explosion, people are running. I said, I've called my boss, and my boss said I have to be there. So I am going back. I now had to go back that night. I didn't spend up to 30 seconds in my house. I had to go back that night, cover the explosion, did the interviews. Now went back to the office to try to file that report. It was a Friday night. I had to go and file that report to ensure that the station starts running it as early in the morning. So journalism is a calling. One which, if you are somebody you are looking for a 9-to-5 job, I tell people, I say either go and work in the civil service or go and work in the bank. If by 5 o'clock in the evening you start looking at your time that you want to go home, then you have not started. You have not started.
Let me also ask very quickly. I mean, you've been able to cover the northern area for News Central. You've done that so well. The reports we see coming out from the north. Can you shed more light on how the insecurity bedeviling the northern region has impacted on the type of stories, the coverage, the steps taken, especially from the Abuja office to ensure that these stories are reported on time, with facts, and so on?
Now, for insecurity, what we saw was what will I call a metamorphosis. From 2012 to 2014, then down. The military, I always say that the military are the unsung heroes. Because the only time you hear about the military is when they are being criticized, when they are being condemned. There was an explosion. What did the military do? I covered the military extensively. Yes, I've had my own issues with them in the past. Remember when I was thrown out of the army group because I was asking questions about procurement of arms. Yes. But still, I tell people, sometimes remove these little obstacles, these hitches. The military are the unsung heroes because our soldiers, we've lost soldiers. I've been to the core north. I've been to Chibok, I've been to Goza, I've been to Biu. I've covered all those places extensively. And sometimes when you see soldiers in the trenches, Nigerians don't appreciate them because the Nigerian military has a culture, very proud culture, that they don't want to talk. They don't want to talk. So even as a press person, to get information out of them is very difficult. But I tell you that for every successful terrorist attack, the military has curbed over 20. For every successful one. You know, there was a time a few weeks ago when there was information that the military base was overrun and Nigerians went haywire. Why would this happen? But I tell people, I've been to the theater. Why is it that Boko Haram always want to attack when around 2 a.m., 3 a.m.? You know how dark it is. It is pitch black. And then you have soldiers in that darkness still trying to repel. And sometimes when they come, you have a base that you have, let's say, 50 military personnel. Boko Haram are attacking in 500, 400. So you have only 50 soldiers trying to protect a base or a community. And you now see over 400. No, at a point in time, we know how it is. If they don't get support, it is always possible for the insurgents to disturb. But the military has done very, very well. And because like I said, the insecurity problem metamorphosed over the years. Prior to the 2015 election, remember when election was postponed, there was a push. Yeah. A lot of them were dislodged from the core northeast. They started spreading across the northern states, north central, northwest, and the rest. And those were the ones that we now began to call bandits. So we saw the military focusing on core terrorism In a few months and a few years, a lot of them metamorphosed into banditry. So there was another mode of insecurity, another form of insecurity that the military had to adapt. And remember that before this time, Nigeria had always been peaceful. I remember 1996, 97. I on my own, I was a very young man. I traveled to Bauchi, from Bauchi to Potiskum. It was peaceful. So we are now facing what we did not experience before, and it's taking us a lot of time, because the moment now we have never been able to solve banditry. All of them are now switching into kidnapping for ransom.
It's multidimensional.
Yes, so you see,
quite a lot happened.
Over the years, it's been changing. The only problem we've had is that it has been very long for federal government to be able to also change with them. It's taking too long. So once you see a new form of insecurity trying to rear its ugly head, what we expect is that the military planners, intelligence agencies should be ready and be able to switch over to be. But over time, I think we'll do better.
Now finally, Ahmadine, as we begin to wrap up, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, I think they did the amazing work at recognizing your service to the country and also the journalism fraternity by giving you a Lifetime Service Award. What message do you have for young and budding journalists and people that are interested in chasing a career in journalism and media? I haven't heard these stories that you've told us here this morning. What skill sets should they work and develop?
Okay, first of all, let me talk about the character traits, because I tell people, no matter how good you are as a journalist, your attitude matters. If your attitude is not spot on, you will not succeed. Number one, you have to be diligent. Number two, you have to be consistent. Diligence and consistency. You have to be consistent. Then, you must be willing to work hard. But above all, you must have one or two mentors. When I was a young journalist, I wanted to be like Christiana Amanpour.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like Christiana Amanpour. She covered conflict, covered Bosnia, covered those wars. So I was naturally, I said, wow, I want to make my name like this woman. But beyond being like Christiana Amanpour, I had one or two mentors in the journalism profession in Nigeria who I looked, they had paid their dues, they had made their mark, and
who are these guys?
Let me say, I chose to follow the two best. I call them the best in broadcast industry in Nigeria. Stella Dean Jacob and Kayode Akintemi.
SDJ.
Yeah. I tell anybody I've worked with them, they are the best. When it comes to broadcast journalism, Mr. Akintemi, he doesn't sleep. He will tell you, put your pulse,
your finger to the pulse of
your
the people.
finger has to be to the pulse. So you know. And when you work with these people who they've made their mark, they've had years of experience, you find out that they are tasking. Yeah. And every time I speak to them, I don't speak to them from a position of arrogance. Even at this age and at this time, when I speak to them, I'm still willing to learn.
Okay. We unfortunately have to run out, but if you can in 30 seconds, I want you to speak to press freedom, because that's one major issue that a lot of young and older journalists complain about, especially we've seen the protests against Section 24 of the Cybercrime Act and the potential of that being used to intimidate journalists. Let's speak to the importance of press freedom in being able to help us do the work that we do.
When you talk about press freedom, the media is called the fourth estate of the realm.
Yes.
Because it is one of the only, how will I say, profession that should be able to call government to account.
Right.
Should be able to question what government is doing without fear, without favor. Unfortunately, Nigeria is not a media society. I was told this about 15, 16 years ago by a consultant that, see, that your country is not a media friendly society. And we've lived it. Everybody wants to intimidate the journalists. You go somewhere. There was a day I went with my team because, like I said, what I've learned from these, my mentors, they're on the field. They are on the field. I went with my team and we went here. DSS said, don't shoot. We went here, police said, and I asked them, I said, if we have to do our job, how do you want us to do
we
it?
can't exhaust the many ways in which press freedom is being stifled. Is it in cases where they don't allow them cover court cases? We'll continue to explore more of these, as is our responsibility here. Thank you once again, Ahmadine, for being a shining light.
Thank you so much,
and congratulations once again. We're going to break in. When we come back, we have a very, very special, important conversation for you. So please stick around. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. With rising inflation, unstable income patterns, increasing food and transportation costs, and growing family responsibilities, financial survival has become a daily concern for many Nigerians. For several households, income no longer stretches as far as it used to, raising an important question, which is budgeting still realistic in today's economy? First, let's tell you the current economic reality that many Nigerians are dealing with. Nigeria's inflation rate rose to 15.69% in April 2026. Food inflation climbed to 16.06%, affecting staples such as garri, yam flour, pepper, and beef. Transportation costs increased by 16% following fuel-related price shocks, and the World Bank now says many households are yet to recover their purchasing power despite improvements in the economy. Many salary earners now exhaust their income before the end of the month, and millions of Nigerians increasingly rely on multiple income streams just to stay afloat. Today's conversation will address how Nigerians are coping with rising financial pressure, examine spending and saving habits, and explore practical ways that individuals and families can better manage money and build financial stability. And we're joined this morning by our business desk anchor and correspondent, Perpetua Fasomi Peter. Good morning, Perpetua.
Good morning, Perpetua. Good to have you join us this morning.
It's great. This is your first time on Breakfast Central, so a special applause for you.
And she's looking very radiant.
Very
Valentine-like.
Wow, very funny. Unfortunately, we're not having you for the most exciting conversation, right? This is something that every Nigerian, even those of us on this table, have had to feel the direct impact of. I think I'll start with the question that I had made reference to in my introduction, is about budgeting. Is budgeting still realistic in today's reality?
Okay, the question is this. What is budget? So budgeting is you saying, this is how I want to spend my money. And so that tells you that budgeting is very important at every point in time. And it is even much more important now because we've seen the time value of money. So the money that could get you A, B, and C before now can only get you A and B. So you need to go back to the drawing board.
Maybe can only get you A.
Can only get you A. You know that. So you need to go back to the drawing board and then ask yourself, where do I need to make adjustments? And then there is this thing about maybe there was a time you were earning higher, and so you inflated your lifestyle. You need to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what are my needs? What are the things I really need to do? What are the things that can wait? What are the things I can, stagger? So when you look at all of these things, we're talking budget already. So at the end of the day, this is even the time where budgeting is more important.
Maybe I should have rephrased the question. Instead of asking you, is budgeting really realistic? To say, is savings really realistic? Because before now, when you say to Nigeria the importance of saving, there's a rule on how people should save. But
50,
now,
30, 20?
Exactly. Now you ask them and they say, the only thing I can save right now is my life. So is saving realistic?
Okay, so talking about saving, I won't even use the 50, 30, 20 because when you look at the reality, a lot of us as Nigerians...
What is this 50, 30, 20?
So 50 is need. You spend 50% of your money on your needs.
Okay.
Those are the very important
Fuel,
ones.
food,
housing, and all of those things. Very important ones, they are your needs. Food, exactly, you mentioned that. And then you have your wants. That may not necessarily be very important, but it's something you want to change your shoe. Not like you don't have a shoe, but maybe you have just one shoe or two shoes, and you want to be able to,
or you want
change.
to eat in a very fancy restaurant.
You get money now, you talk now. Well, that's also part of it. I mean, there are times you want to make yourself feel good. So the 20% goes to that. And then the remaining 20% is meant for you to save. But we're in a situation where, just like I mentioned earlier, The take home isn't even taking people home. So it has to be a personal conversation where you ask yourself, how much can I realistically save? And then when you ask yourself, how much can I realistically save? That means you're beginning to ask yourself, what can I let go of? What can I reduce? What can I cut down? So you really have to talk to yourself. You need to have a business meeting with yourself, like a boardroom meeting with yourself, where you begin to put pen to paper and begin to calculate
Hopefully
things.
you won't act like a madman. You're talking to yourself.
But let's come back to what you said. And the first step is budgeting. And I'll go with what Olive said. Is it even realistic in the first place? I'll use a personal example. Friday, I was coming back I went out, and on my way home, my AC stopped working. It just stopped working. And I had already planned that this week, I'm going to spend X amount of money. I'm going to spend X amount of money. And it just threw my budget out of the window, because by the time I went to the technician, they gave me a bill, and I don't know if you classify it as a want or a need, because my car has to, my car still drives. I can drive a car without an AC, but I'll be uncomfortable. I'll be wearing a suit in 30 degrees sun. So I had to take that decision to fix my AC. Now, my budget for the week has been cancelled.
Okay,
so what do you do in situations like that?
All right, so that's why it's good to have your savings. So if you had savings, your savings is for situations like this, for emergencies, for things you never bargained for things you never planned. But you know that this is life and things happen. Anything can happen. And so because of that, it's important you have that contingency fund somewhere. So when something like that comes in, and well, it depends. You're trying to help person. I know your car, so I can understand what you're talking about. But there are times you probably need to also tell yourself, do I need this now?
A valid question.
Now.
Then that must AC. Can't you find yourself?
Oh, no.
Olive, stop it.
Or you wind down. You have cars. Some people don't have that. It's a luxury.
It depends on your earning power. It depends on your disposable income, really. Some things that could be luxury for me may not be luxury for you. So that's how it is.
Where do you put people that send this, can I see 5K for your hand, 10K for your hand?
So that's why budgeting is important. There is that part where you put maybe miscellaneous, and there are people who even put things like maybe something for charity and all of those things. So yes. So
these days, I just type K 10 times.
So I think that's another issue that we need to focus on. Charity, CSR, because as Africans...
CSR is corporate. You're not a corporate organization, except you're one. So maybe charity.
So charity, let's start with charity.
Yeah. Charity, corporate, by the way.
Wherever. Charity, black tax. Nigerians...
Uzbekistan.
Yeah, Nigerians have to deal with a lot of black tax.
Area.
You know, family members are sending you billing, friends are sending you bills. Not necessarily...
Girlfriends, for those that are single.
Okay. I'm glad you added that caveat. Not necessarily because they want to beg you, but because times that people have fallen upon rough times. There's a thin line between being kind and showing up for people and then spending yourself. How do we ensure that we put those guardrails, to enable us still be able to show up for our loved ones, but then still make wise, practical financial decisions in this day and age?
I think when you get to that point, nobody will tell you. You really need to get to that point where you tell yourself, I have done enough. I cannot continue. You have to be pragmatic. You've got to just think about it. How much are you even making to start with? How much can you, probably give out without feeling it? That's why budgeting is important. So at the end of the day, you know that you have exceeded XY money. And there is no XY money anywhere else. The person would have to wait till the next month.
Let's look at impulse spending. This has been a major challenge for Nigerians, and recently we've seen how the economy is no longer stable. Gone are the days, do I need to say gone are the days? Just a few years ago, you're able to predict what will happen to your salary because we're used to a certain type of exchange rate, a certain type of spending power. But these days, with the fluctuation of energy, there's power. And now we just heard that, the power regulatory body is about to review the prices. There's fuel. Right now, we're still buying fuel for 1,300 and something. It doesn't want to come down. So what should we know about impulse buying, impulse spending? A lot of people are no longer, are currently going to supermarkets with a book, not a paper anymore. They are checking the books and so on. But there's still a cross-section of Nigerians who don't believe in the book. They just, anything they see, like, you know what, let me just buy it, I need it. Is it risky at this point?
It is very risky at every point in time, because at the end of the day, you're going to spend yourself thin. And when you need to make, some decisions, unfortunately, you don't have something to fall back on, because you never made hay while the sun was shining. So it's actually very important that you tell yourself, like I said, that board meeting with yourself is still very important. That budget is still very important, because it's going to guide you. It's going to help you understand and know that I have done this and I cannot go beyond this. I'm one person who, I can say that there are times I could spend impulsively, but at the point, by the time, I saw the brunt of it, nobody told me, like I mentioned earlier, you've got to talk to yourself. And then I told myself, what do I do now? When I see something, like, is it really important? Do I need it now? What will happen if I don't get it now? Is it a necessity?
No wonder, I was hearing Benga in the boardroom last week. Okay, Benga.
Yes, I was talking to myself.
It was really,
That's why I've not declared for you guys this week.
Right.
Last week.
So another thing, I think another tip that has been shared with me in terms of charity, because I think that's something that I personally struggled with, in terms of not knowing when to say no and always stretching myself thin to be able to meet needs, is to be able to have a benchmark to say, for charity, and that goes to what Perpetua was saying, budgeting even for charity, to say, in this month, all I can afford to give anybody is urgent 2K. Anything more than 2K, for example, and that's me using that loosely, anything more than 2K, I can't. So if somebody comes and asks for 500, it's within my budget for charity.
I don't think I will give. You can't say no to you that I know. You're very emotional.
No.
And you are meek.
Okay, let's talk about emotional. Since we're talking about being emotional, talk to us about this psychology of spending, the emotional side of spending. How does that come into play when we choose? How does emotion come into play? Is there a reworking, a mindset reshaping that needs to happen to affect how we decide to spend money?
I think you've already even talked about it. Is there a reworking? Is there a mindset shift that needs to happen? That's very important, because, when you make decisions based on emotion is fleeting. So at the end of the day, you are going to realize, sooner or later, you realize that you made the wrong decision. So that's why it's important that at the end of the day, you always check yourself. Whenever you want to buy anything, those things I talked about, is this important? Is this necessary? Do I need this now? Can this wait till next week? Can this wait till next month? If you always put all that up, then that will also help you to deal with the emotional side of, wanting to buy something, wanting to feel good. Buying things make us feel good, actually, but then you need to tell yourself the simple truth. Can I afford this? Can I continue to do this? If I continue on this trajectory, what will happen to me? Will I still be able to get something to fall back to when an emergency does occur? Because it will crystallize. He didn't think his, the air conditioner of his car is going to develop a fault, but he did develop a fault. So you've got to put all of that into perspective. We need to quit being emotional and be sincere with ourselves. Like I said, if you haven't burnt yourself once, you won't sit up.
You're right. And just from this discussion this morning, I've made some mental notes and discussions about.
I don't trust what guys about.
I changed to lifestyle, because this Friday when I go to the discotheque, instead of having my favorite champagne, I'll decide to drink juice. Juice is life.
I'm really tired of you. He's on the road.
I wanted to touch on, because this morning, I'm sure some persons who are watching are parents. So let's touch on parenting and home economics, especially with financial planning. Back in the day, maybe a few years ago, parents would buy 4 loaves or 4 sliced bread loaves in terms of different, or their favorite. If you're buying detergent, you buy a particular brand. Toothpaste, well, I don't know about that one. I'm quite, it's better you stick to the one that works for you. But some people have even cut down. Then school fees. We've seen parents pull their kids out of schools, and they've changed schools for their children, while some are not able to do so. They don't want to do so because they believe, regardless, the money must come. How should parents handle financial planning, especially this time?
All right, so talking about financial planning, there is the short term, the mid, and then the long term goals. So I want to believe that as a family, the parents have had that conversation about where they will see themselves in the next 5-10 years. What are their financial goals? What are some of the things they would like to achieve? So when you know where you're going, you can then start planning from here. So to achieve that, what do we need to do? This is our current income. With this current income, if we continue to save this percentage and maybe invest this percentage, at the end of the day, how quickly can we achieve that particular goal that we want? And then we then begin to make other decisions like, based on what we are looking at, can our children afford to go to this particular school? Because it's very important. It's very important that you make that decision. You do not want a situation where your children are sent out of school because you're struggling to make payments. And, these kids are very smart these days. Mommy, why did they send me out of school? And they can't, some of them, it's funny, but that's feeling sometimes. You want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that we must also speak to affordability, because there's also the angle of, can you afford this school, or are you putting this child in this school because you want to look good? Before you respond to that, let's go on a very quick break, and when we come back, the conversation continues. We're still looking at budgeting, financial savings, and just basically making the best of your finances in these times. Stay with us. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. The conversation continues, helping you this morning to make sense of your finances and make the best out of them. Before we went on that quick break, Perpetua, I was speaking to affordability or ability to pay certain school fees. And because we're in an era of social media pressure, we're in an era where people put themselves under undue pressure. You want to meet a certain status, you want to look a certain way. So is there something to speak about when it comes to parents putting their children in schools that they know not to afford? And I know this because I know of someone who had no source of income. Both parents had no source of income, put their child in a school that had very exorbitant fees. And when they spoke to me about it, I advised them. I said, why not put this child in a government school? Yes, you will pay some money, but you'll be able to pay. It will be something that even if you are begging for money from people, they will be able to understand where you're coming from. They refused, and they put this child in a private school that had fees in the hundreds of thousands. What that means is every term, they're going around looking for people to ask for money. So I'd like you to please speak about that.
All right, so that's quite interesting, talking about every time going about looking for money. But like I was saying earlier, talking about how that when you put your children in school, you don't want a situation where they are being sent home every now and then because you haven't paid fees. And it's another thing to not even have self-respect, to not even value yourself, to the point where you always go a begging. I don't know, but how do you even feel comfortable doing that? But away from that, it's important that you know how much you're earning, you know what's coming in, you know what is realistically, something you can realistically pay for your child. There are good schools that are not as expensive. There are good schools that are not as expensive. So all you need to do is take your time, make your research, ensure that you locate a good one, put your child there. And if your child needs support, that's why you're there. You can give that support. You can teach them. You can help them. Or you have anyone around that can teach them. These days, they can even go online and learn things. So if your concern or your fear is that that child will not have quality education, you've got other things that can help you ensure that that child isn't losing out or missing anything. So it's important, on no account should you go a begging. Every now and then, before you know what's happening, you're going to be labeled. And the moment people see your call, they won't pick it because they know you're about to beg again. And
that, just to mention that this excludes situations where life happens, because there are times where you can genuinely afford to pay these fees and somehow life happens. But this one is, I'm talking about making a conscious, actual decision to live above your means. I went to a government secondary school and I'm on TV
and look at you today.
The quality of my life hasn't reduced in any way, shape or form. So I'm just saying this to say to parents who feel that, if they don't go to a certain, and I do get it, that sometimes certain schools might determine the trajectory of how your child goes, maybe because of the network, connections, how it expands their mind, but you also have to be true to your reality.
Absolutely.
Lifetime inflation is really something.
Let's talk about savings, and what would you recommend as the best or different methods that people can use to save? There are bank apps where you can lock your money, there are investment apps, there's also investment in there's thrift system, popularly known as Ajo, but you need to know the address of the people you are doing Ajo because they can pack and leave. I've been seeing WhatsApp statuses, 200,000
to pack 1 million, 2.5 to pack 30 million.
Okay, while that is very good, it's 200,000 out to pack 1 million and all of those things, those are very good. But you need to, be sure of these people. Just like he said, you need to know the address. And I'm sure he was joking, but of course, you need to be sure about this person. Whose account are we paying this money into? Can you trust this person? Do you know where this person stays? What's what can you say about this person generally? So that I had to put that out first. But I'm talking about savings, just like what he said, there are some apps that you can actually use to lock in your money and all of those things. And for people who probably feel that they do not make enough, you can do what they call direct debit from source. It could be as little as 5,000 naira. But just keep something aside. There is something about the amount you earn. To some extent, a lot of the things that you're going to be, buying and needing will somehow still reflect what you're earning. So if it is 5,000 naira you're able to keep aside, it's still something. Just keep something aside. It's very important. And then apart from that, for people who are also, you've got to be disciplined. Do I need to beat you to be disciplined?
So that's what she's saying, a direct debit.
Okay.
So that as soon as the money is entering your account,
and it's a locked in,
it's out. Like
exactly.
they automatically debit it from your account.
Yeah.
Right? And that Ajo thing, just to mention, it's a great idea, but let me give you a hack. A hack that I think will work.
Okay.
Because, like you said, there are apps where you can lock money and get a % increase. There are also savings and investment opportunities like mutual funds. If you are doing Ajo, offer to be the first person. Collect.
I'll now be giving people money.
No. Benga, no. Let me tell you how you hedge those funds. So if you're doing, for example, 1 million to collect 10 million, all of you putting together 1 million and
this economy.
Calm down now. Let's aspire to Maguire.
Okay.
So when all of you collect the 10 million, you collect it first. If you put that in your mutual funds, every month you can keep working, but that 10 million is already yielding interest for you in ways that the other people will not be able to make that much money. So if I were doing a job,
but the reason why you collect the money is to use it for something.
No, not everybody is collecting to use for something. Some
collect
people
for
just want to collect
investment, to reinvest.
Yeah.
It could be that you have a plan. Maybe there's something you want to get a car, or you want to buy a house, a land. You could collect it for that reason, and you can also collect it to keep it. So it's up to a particular threshold you want to use in investing. Because there are some investments that
require minimum.
Yeah, it requires huge amounts.
The last person I did a job with is now in Côte d'Ivoire. He's telling me bonjour merci. He doesn't even speak English anymore.
Where do you get the stories from?
I knew that job plan was not going to work. No wonder you were talking to yourself, but hold on. Nigerians are not financially literate.
Well, that's changing, though.
I'm coming. Yeah. In terms of numbers, it's proven, it's there. The percentage is very, very minimal. A lot of Nigerians don't have that literacy to understand that, listen, when you have this. However, in the grassroots, also in the informal sector, it's the Ajo, they come with the book.
The cooperative also.
The cooperative as well. They say, okay, bring. But to a certain degree, even when many of us had finished from primary school to secondary school, there wasn't a direct educational learning that showed that, listen, you have to save this amount into this account, this is what you get. So that could have gotten us prepared. But regardless of that, what can be done to the younger generation that's coming up now? I mean, good enough, we have more apps now. Take for instance, Zenith Bank is having some information here and there, teaching people on their apps, this is what you could do. There's information everywhere. So what can be done now? What do you think can be done to help the younger generation so they can be better financially literate and get ready to ensure that they do not squander all their money on maybe Benz and eating shawarma and all that?
Okay, so I think parents are really sitting tight these days, and the parents sort of educate their children. I remember I was having a conversation with a woman, and she was talking about piggy bank, how she rewards the child with a token, and then the baby has to put it in her piggy bank and all of those. So, and she got her piggy bank jealously. So that's part of it.
All of us had one growing up. Polo.
I had Polo. I didn't have
friend broke.
It wasn't that's the English name.
When hunger was real, my friend broke the Polo. God.
All right, so so that's still part of the literacy, the financial literacy we're giving to them. And then also in some schools, I see they're also beginning to incorporate some of these things. They teach them. I think in some schools they do entrepreneurship and things in that regard, just to help them understand some of the things they can do. And apart from that, just like you said, information is almost everywhere, really. If you're really interested in learning, your apps will always... I have about 3 or 4 apps on my phone, and before you know it, sometimes I scroll up, I see, hey, it's Friday, don't just spend that money, save it. You know, you have apps that are always prompting you, telling you things, even bank apps, like he mentioned, Zenith Bank. So you get into your bank app and you're seeing education, all of these things. They help, they prepare you. And so they guide you in making decisions. And of course, the media, we've also got a role to play. And I think this is what we're doing in conjunction with Zenith Bank, really, making people understand that you've got to know these things. You've got to plan. It's possible. All you need to do is learn. What does mutual fund mean? What does it mean to invest in bonds? What does it mean to invest in equities? Some of these things, the information are out there. So the moment you tell yourself that you're ready to go the next level in building your wealth, then you should also be ready to learn, because the information is out there. Whatever it is you want to do, the information is out there. There's someone out there who is ready, dishing out information without you even asking. Whether you go on Twitter, I'm sure you know some people are even already popular for these things on Twitter, on YouTube, all over social media. We've got people who are doing all of these. Yes, teaching you without you even asking. So those are some of the things we can take advantage of. Right? Oh, sure, I am.
All right, so we look forward to learning more.
Yes. What sort of conversations are we having today on business?
Okay, so talking about business edge today, the first conversation, we are looking at the cost of healthy food. The cost of healthy food in Nigeria, healthy meal has become very expensive.
Do you know how much avocado is and salmon?
I like what you said. Now, when you look at it, animal sources, they are the most expensive. That's protein. Fruits are, after animal sources, you've got protein, and then carbohydrates are the cheapest. What are we saying?
That's why we eat so much carbs.
Exactly.
Very unhealthy.
So that's malnutrition. Maybe may not have gotten up to malnutrition, but that says something about nutrition.
With the United Nations
latest updates,
insecurity updates.
Exactly.
I need to watch Business Edge.
Thank you so much.
11 a.m.
11 a.m.
And yes, on a personal note, people should also cut their coat according to their size.
Absolutely.
No. Fake life.
No.
Say no to fake life.
Don't cut your coat according to your size. Cut it according to your cloth.
Okay, your cloth.
Because my size now might be every weekend I'm flying first class. That's really my size in my mind. But my account balance cloth is not really
doesn't support that.
Say no to fake life. Instead of going to London for holiday, try Osaka, London.
I like that.
Or small London in Africa.
I went to. I will not hear the end of it.
Only if you are living fake life. What happened to Nigerian tourism? What happened to promoting New London, small London in Africa?
That's all.
Okay.
We're going on a quick break. Can we come back?
Must I use this? You two must you go to London?
We'll be back.
This segment was brought to you by Zenith Bank.
Nigeria has a dangerous habit of exposing its deepest failures through budgets, and perhaps nothing screams dysfunction louder than the proposed 135.22 billion earmarked for post-election litigation ahead of the 2027 elections. Think about that. Before one ballot is cast, before one result is announced, before Nigerians even stand in line to vote, the government is already preparing billions for legal battles. So the question is simple. Are we planning for credible elections or budgeting for inevitable chaos? Because in any serious democracy, elections should end at the ballot and not begin in courtrooms. But in Nigeria, the courtroom has slowly become a second polling unit. Politicians don't just campaign for votes anymore. Many now seem to campaign for judges. Losing is rarely accepted. Every result is contested. Every process is dragged through endless legal warfare. And that should alarm every Nigerian. At a time when inflation is punishing families, when food prices are unbearable, when hospitals are underfunded, when schools are decaying, and when millions of young Nigerians remain unemployed, the government is preparing to spend 135 billion naira cleaning up disputes born from mistrust, weak institutions, flawed primaries, political greed, and a broken electoral culture. What exactly are we normalizing? And when you reserve such a staggering amount for post-election litigation, you're sending a dangerous message that conflict is expected, disputes are routine, and credibility is uncertain. That is not democratic confidence. That is institutional anxiety. Yes, the courts must remain open. Legal redress is vital, but litigation, rather, should be a safeguard, not an anticipated national tradition. INEC must do more than make promises. It must deliver elections Nigerians can trust. Political parties must stop treating primaries like civil wars. The judiciary must crush frivolous cases quickly. And lawmakers must explain why Nigerians appear more prepared to fund electoral disputes than prevent them. Because this is not just about money, it's about trust, it's about legitimacy, it's about whether Nigerians still believe their votes matter or whether elections have become merely the first round before the lawyers take over. Nigerians must stop preparing for electoral warfare. Nigerians must start building electoral integrity because democracy does not die when votes are stolen. Sometimes it dies when people stop believing their votes can count at all. Good morning, Nigerians.
Very interesting. Which way, Nigeria? Well, let's go straight to the front pages of the newspapers. We do have a few minutes to go. Don't forget, you can be part of it by simply calling the number you'd find on the screen in a moment.
I really would have loved for you to share with me like your most impactful part of Which Way Nigeria, just as feedback.
Yeah, I think the most impactful part is basically why budget before the election.
Such a huge amount.
Waiting for litigation. That means you already know what's about to happen.
Right.
And that doesn't truly, in a sane society, that shouldn't be. You should actually allow the judiciary take its course, whatever happens. I remember what happened from 2023. It's a fallback, actually, where we saw litigations up and down. So it's pretty much like,
if you improve on the electoral system, you minimize
you minimize the
and
cases.
if the process is free, fair, and transparent.
I mean, my summary of that would be that elections should no longer be won at the court, but at the ballot, because that was the original intent for election, to determine who should be the rightful winner or who should rightfully carry the mandate of the people. But it almost is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's why INEC, the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters, would say they should allocate a certain amount for court representation because, again, they do not expect that the elections will be without contest. And that's not us being unrealistic to say that people will not push back. But justice is not just it being done, but being manifestly seen to be done. I won't say by all, in this case, by the majority, which we don't see happening.
Absolutely. I mean, I was privileged to be here on set. I think I worked with Judith, and we spent close to about 8 to 10 hours or so on set for the U.S. elections.
Right.
And we could see, we had in front of us, apart from our tablets, we had systems ready. We're monitoring the elections, even from websites, from the portals, live as it's going. It's open to the world. You could see, you could track it from your house, from your home.
Real time.
You see real time. You see the borders rising. You see the charts and everything clear, real time. So there's no case of, oh, you know what? They took the electoral material like we hear of the ADC somewhere to a private home. We don't know what the electoral materials are doing there. Or after the collation, we saw the car deviate. It went somewhere else. And that's where the materials were inside that car, the boot.
Cock and bull stories.
Real cock and bull stories. Okay.
Well, let's go straight to the papers. Let's start off with Al Jazeera. That'll be our first paper this morning. Tinubu wins APC ticket with 10.99 million votes. You know, we give you an update as well.
That's massive.
That deserves an applause.
And we told you about a group that is actually suing. They say they will take APC and the president to court because, according to them, the original number of APC members that was released to INEC and was made clear was 7-point-something million. So where did they get 10.99
maybe the difference, the 3-point-something difference.
And so on.
Maybe they are fans.
Eh?
Fans.
And fans.
You were ridiculous.
Let's take this one. Let's see another one. It says, still on the Al Jazeera, Aoundaka emerges Benue PDP governorship candidate, names running mate. He's not wasting any time.
These days, the World Cup journalists, work is cut out for us.
It's cut out.
You need to ask which faction of
the PDP
did he emerge from?
Do you understand?
Because this same yesterday, the ADC, one of the main opposition parties, Dimabi Kachuku emerged as a presidential candidate. We also have a party where another factional chairman has declared forms for free. He's doing giveaway of forms. So what is really going on? How do we do our job? That's Labour Party. Yes, Julius Abure.
So what's happening to democracy at the end?
How do we even do our jobs as journalists?
I think what it is now is that what we have is a theatrical display of politicians. That is what our elections have become.
But they have real-life consequences on people's lives.
Yes, they do have real-life consequences. And unfortunately, we're accepting this as the norm. It's not normal. it is completely abnormal.
Can we say that it also boils down to the judiciary again? That by now we've seen conflicting statements, judgments made, such as the popular antebellum, which we've eventually named.
People should leave that antebellum status quo.
I know you will defend your constituency.
The bell of conscience.
Your heart is not really in journalism.
Then we also saw the one that says, okay, it's neither here nor there. What is the situation? Can there be a statement? Because everyone is coming out just to do what they want to. And what baffles me, Benga, is the fact that I don't know where they get the monies from.
I don't think it's just the judiciary.
They pay for venues.
You know, I'm happy Nenadi Usman. Yes, Nenadi Usman petitioned the DSS and the Nigerian police last week that Mr. Julius Abure should stop parading himself as the Labour Party
despite a court
order. So if it were some other private individuals that were behaving like that or even typing, we've seen the swiftness at which law enforcement will come at you with cybercrime law that you're,
Section 24.
You know, and now you're seeing this brazen display even after court orders and nothing is being done about it. It does have effects on our democracy.
It absolutely does. So yes, the judiciary has its role to play, but so does the executive and the legislature. I think our ruling class, like the three arms of government, there's a lot of reshuffling that needs to happen. There's a lot of sweeping and reorganization. But I want us to go through as many stories as we can. Still on the front page of Al Jazeera, troops rescue 92 kidnapped victims, foil terrorist IED ambush in Borno. That's great news. Nigeria acquired 100 warships and boats in 7 years, according to an official.
Yes, and the Nigerian Navy is going to be 70, by the way. Next month, they have a lot of celebrations going on for them. The Naval Dockyard in Victoria Island is doing a great job. They're repairing vessels from neighboring countries. So we should celebrate great things happening in our country.
Great things really are happening. In Kwara, again, bandits attack worshippers, kill 3, abduct 15. Really sad. Tinkan Port rakes in 1.6 trillion naira, surpasses 2025 revenue. Wow. That's massive.
In 6 months.
In 6 months. DR Congo, I think this is a very important story, extremely important story. DR Congo Ebola situation escalates as World Health Organization upgrades risk to very high. And why this story is important is we can recall just as recently as 5 years ago when we had the hard hit of Ebola, and it was actually a little over 5 years. And we saw the impact that it had. We saw the lives that were lost as a result. Thankful for the sacrifice of Dr. Stella Adadevo. We will never forget the sacrifice that she made when she stopped Patrick Sawyer, the Liberian man, the man who had come in from Liberia into Nigeria. And she paid the ultimate price with her life. At that time, I don't know that things were as dire as the current reality that we are having. The question is, are we putting in plans? Are we putting in structures to ensure? Because the world is a global village. Our borders are porous. Someone can come in from the DRC. Have we started to do screenings at the airport? I came into Nigeria last week. I couldn't see any screenings happening.
Where did you come from?
The Murtala Mohammed International Airport.
Where did you travel to?
I came back from London.
Okay.
Wow.
I rest my case.
But it doesn't matter. Benga, I could have gone to the DRC before going to London and then coming back to Nigeria.
You're right.
So what measures are we putting in place? We cannot afford to be hit by a pandemic. Our nation will bleed with the current state of things. What measures are we putting in place?
And let's not expect that everyone that is sitting on that desk is a Dr. Adadevo.
No.
We were very lucky and we were
blessed
to have her.
Yes, we are also proactive.
Do the work
with COVID-19. It's important to mention that this particular strain is terrible. It's been killing people. We're going to discuss this in full detail tomorrow, but also to say that people need to start employing the same measures that they did with COVID-19 and Ebola at the time, washing your hands, maintaining best practices, and also beefing up your immunization with the kind of things you eat in terms of supplements and the likes. But we'll explore this in detail tomorrow with a healthcare professional. NDLEA intercepts 63-year-old Chinese woman with illicit drugs in Lagos. Wow. Mama Lulu. Asagba of Asaba launches annual 80 years above honor day. This Nigerian newspaper, Tinubu says, I also lose sleep and weight over the economy. Admits insecurity in the country, vows to fight it. APC presents president with 2027 nomination certificate. Salah, Many Muslims may forgo RAM as prices hit 1.3 million naira.
3 million.
3 years ago,
Wow.
if you had 1.3 million naira, you would buy a nice Toyota Corolla, Nigerian used Toyota Corolla. In fact, add 200K to that, you will get a foreign used car.
Maybe 6 years ago, yes.
Yeah, you will get, maybe 6 years ago.
7 years ago.
Add 300,000 naira to that, and you get a foreign used
RAM.
Tokumbo car.
RAM is
now,
not the price of...
that is the same rates we used to buy RAM.
Even
So
fans of Ramanjago cannot afford this RAM.
I don't understand.
1.3 million.
Yeah.
Traders blame inflation, insecurity, weak naira for price hike.
Sorry. People will have to gather to buy this RAM.
Yes, so
it's going to be, you know,
So
like
sad.
you talked about Ajo, you know, like talk about cooperative and all that. So it's like 15 family members coming together.
You know, and
families.
Looking at Nigeria, I mean, just going, I saw...
It defeats the purpose because this RAM is not just being killed. It's killed for spiritual reasons. There's a spiritual, religious reason why this RAM, symbolic reason. It's symbolizing Abraham, Isaac, and the ultimate sacrifice. So if that was done,
Abraham did not share RAM with
He didn't share RAM.
Hello.
So look at where we are now.
This
And
morning
on
we
a
talked
serious
about
note, when you look at, I remember
sad.
I follow a page, Nigerian Nostalgia Project, and there was a picture taken of a marketplace in Ile-Ife, I think it was in the 80s, just a woman selling provisions. You could see the tin of beverage, the detergent, everything was intact. There was not a single sachet in size
Now we're such a
for FCMGs. So now we've come to a stage where, you know, everything has to be sold in Derika, in sachets. In, you know, it's really, really sad. And that means the erosion, it speaks to the erosion of purchasing power of Nigeria's middle class, or the
Erosion of
depletion
actual middle class.
Middle class, exactly, the actual middle class. And it's not, it's really, really sad.
The worst
that we're even talking about people sharing RAM.
The worst one for me, apart from the fact that even in a sachetized economy that we find ourselves, is the fact that, things like toothpaste, oil, cooking oil.
I mean, just name it. Any fast...
Name it. Any
consumer,
fast
moving
consumer goods is now sachetized. I can't wait to also see the fact that, salt is also, even salt.
The salt has been sachetized for a long
even
while.
the smaller sizes now. Have you seen the smaller one?
Wow.
Oh, there's a smaller one now, very small. If you go to the market, you see a smaller size, like the one you can just use if you want to cook just now.
We're supposed to be, we're meant to be the salt of the earth.
Can you beat that? So
we guys on the road
we
this
must
morning.
be honest that things are no longer looking like the way they were.
Things are not the same.
I don't want to talk about the rent.
Netosi wouldn't have foreseen this.
I don't want to talk about the
Netosi will be drinking Nutrisi right now.
I don't want to talk about the exorbitant fees that you pay for rent, and yet when it rains, you're asking yourself, what do I pay for? The brothers in Lekki now
Mini flat and mini
can now
swimming
agree
pool.
that their 10 million houses is being attacked by flood. And then you wait again another year, you pay for another 10 million, and then again it's flooded.
Anyway, just to remind you, to the Muslim faithfuls, this is the salah that they kill ram. And share. So
you must
don't let anybody tell you this is not the salah.
This is the salah that they kill. This is the big salah. But just to also mention, for those who cannot afford it, I can see here they say experts advise faithful to embrace spiritual essence of Eid. So please do not put yourself under undue pressure if you cannot afford it.
Exactly, we just talked about
financial discipline of some sort. If you can't, right, it's in your heart, more importantly. And as much as we want to beg you for salaram, if you can't afford it, we completely understand. But we do hope that the nearest future, our country will be such that people can be able to afford the things that they want, the things that they need, the basics of life, and that the quality of living will improve. We hope that our leaders will move away from politicking and focus particularly on increasing the quality of life, improving the quality of life of Nigerians, even though the generality of the populace don't seem to think that that is the current reality. But that's all that we can take this morning.
You don't want us to wrap up on the last page, on the paper you were taking, just final...
Okay, Ben, I mean, we've taken... Okay, let's take the last story.
You've not completed your salary. You want to go...
NCAA sanctions APC, Arik, Ibom Air, 8 others over debts. So we've taken the other stories on the other papers, is why I didn't bother touching them as well.
Have you heard that flight cost has gone up.
Yeah, it's gone up.
So if you're going to Abuja this morning, if you were thinking your budget should be 200,000, you are mistaken.
Well, last. The only travel we will be doing is Astra travel. And thank you for joining us.
Please, can you ring the bell?
We need to calm down.
Yes, to calm us down.
It's been a pressure of some stories.
It's quite an intense morning.
Very sobering.
Very sobering morning. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Etiquette, RAM.
Or your state.
Just a lot of bad news. Lots of bad news.
Well, there's life, there's hope.
At least there's good news. Good news is that there's
Jasir is up next.
The president has won his presidential
Join the
ticket,
ladies of Jasir.
Okay.
That's all.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Join the ladies and watch them.
We'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you to our virtual audience, physical audience, guests who joined us in the studio, and to all those who continue to interact with us virtually. We'll see you again, same time tomorrow. Do have yourselves a wonderful day. I hope you don't have to swim to work because it is really a heavy downpour happening here in Lagos. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
And follow Olive.